Hey y'all, it's Kate from the Literary Apothecary and welcome back to my channel.
I'm here today to talk about Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This is book 1 in the Letters of Enchantment duology. This is a YA romance, romancy with some fantasy. This book was so fun to read. Rebecca Ross creates a compelling atmosphere and settings that sucked me in completely, but it felt disappointing in comparison to A, the hype that this duology had, and B, Elements of Cadence, which was her other duology that I read first, and I absolutely fell in love with her writing. Divine Rivals and the Letters of Enchantment duology kind of let me down in a big sense. Spoiler-free summary for what this book is all about. When two young rival journalists find love through a magical connection, their fate depends on their facing the depths of hell together. After centuries of sleep, the gods are warring again. Iris Winnow just wants to hold her family together. Her brother joins the war and her mother drains her sorrows. Roman Kit is a spoiled rich kid. He's trying to come to age essentially and think for himself as in the middle of this war. There's also magical typewriters involved, and what was advertised as a love to hate, enemies to lovers trope, although I take the enemies to lovers trope I feel like that's a little bit stretching it. It's the spirit of it, but they're not quite enemies. They're just rivals, hence the title. So jumping right into my call pile rating and my review of this book, our characters, they weren't outstanding to me. They were just there. They were good, but they weren't great. They weren't terrible. They were just kind of, yeah. Our atmosphere and our setting, like I said before, Rebecca Ross paints fantastic atmospheres and settings. It felt like this was a World War I novel without being a World War I novel. A writing style, Ross can write well. For me, it just was missing that magical feel that the Elements of Cadence duology, and I know Rebecca Ross can put in there. There was magic in here, it just didn't feel magical to me, and I needed that magical feel. Our plot was a bit predictable, and I did not like the twist at the end at all. If you've read this book, you know what I'm talking about. Is a very big twist at the very end of this book. I didn't like it at all. The intrigue, I was intrigued with, but needed to be intrigued with encouragement. What I mean by this is I liked reading this book, even though there was parts that I didn't like, but in order to keep reading it, I needed a little bit of encouragement for it. And that was where the buddy read with Leslie at the Nerdy Narrative came in. She was reading it right before I was reading it, and so her comments kind of pushed me, kept me going to see if I felt the same way that she did in reading this. And spoiler alert, in a lot of cases we did. But I will link her review for this book in the description down below. Also, if you want to check it out, her reviews are way better than mine. But she's my best friend and I love her to pieces, and we buddy read a ton. Enjoyment, like I said, I enjoyed it, but not as much as I did for Elements of Cadence. And I know you shouldn't really compare two very different duologies by one author together, but I can't help doing it because that's what got me into Rebecca Ross's writing to begin with. Now, I did do a immersion read for this, so I have my audiobook narrator thoughts here. I didn't like them as much. They felt like they were hard to follow, and it felt like it jumped around a lot, especially when I was just listening to the audiobook at times. It was really hard to follow. So if you want to see my full review for Divine Rivals, the link will be down in the description below where all my thoughts are for there. And this was not a huge disappointment. It was just disappointing. I still love Rebecca Ross's writing and I'll still read anything that she writes. But this one did not hold up to Elements of Cadence for me. If you have read the Divine Rivals, let me know in the comments below. What did you think of it? If you've read Elements of Cadence and the Letters of Enchantment, which one did you prefer? As I said, I preferred the Elements of Cadence duology, but I know there are some people that prefer this duology, so I'd love to have that conversation with y'all. As always, keep reading, and I love y'all to the moon and back. Bye.